everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica and I make videos all about making and selling candles. If you're interested in checking out what my Etsy shop looks like, or if you want to see any of my merch designs, go ahead and check out the first links in the description box below. Today's video is just going to be me talking with you guys, giving you some advice to those of you that are looking into starting your own candle business. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. It's so important with all businesses, but especially with candle businesses, to take your time in the beginning. Make sure that you guys are fully understanding the process of making candles before you sell them, specifically when it comes to selling safe candles. So we don't want to be selling candles that are overwicked or something that could be a potential fire hazard. Remember, with candles, we are selling a potentially dangerous consumer good to people, and we want to make sure that it is as safe as possible. So we need to be doing our best to make sure that we are educating ourselves and knowing exactly how our candles perform before we sell them off to people. My second piece of advice is do not compare yourself to others. I know it's really hard, especially with business and especially with candle making being so creative and the beautiful photos, the beautiful labels. I understand that it can be really hard sometimes to not compare yourself to others, but I really advise you guys to just take a moment and focus on what you're doing. Don't focus on what everybody else is doing. It is okay to get inspiration from others, but if it's making you feel really bad about yourself and your business, then take a break from it for a little bit. Just focus on what you're doing, and it will help you so much with your mental state and your mental health, because that's something that is not talked about a lot with business and entrepreneurs. Is mental health is a struggle sometimes. We are constantly being surrounded by all of this competition, and we can really judge ourselves and feel bad about what we're doing because we are comparing it to somebody else. So just take a moment, take a break if you need to from social media. If it's causing you a lot of stress or a lot of frustration, just know that you are focusing on you, and if that is your main focus, then you will be able to thrive with your business because you aren't constantly having your head turned look to somebody else. You are turning your head forward and you are focusing on what you need to do to be able to grow your own business. My third piece of advice is to get candle insurance. I know I don't mention this a lot on my channel, you guys. I will make a whole video on this, but in the meantime, check out Jeff Stanley's video on business insurance. I highly recommend it. And for those of you wondering, I personally do have Liberty Mutual business insurance. They do cover candle manufacturing and candle businesses. So specifically with California, I don't know anywhere else, but in California they do. So maybe look into that if you guys are interested, but I highly recommend to get candle insurance before you start selling. I personally did not. I do regret it because you never know what's going to happen. It's not worth it to take the gamble, and I highly recommend that as soon as you know when your launch date is or when you are going to start actually selling your candles to customers, get candle business insurance. You will never regret having insurance, so definitely look into that. Advice number 4 has to do with proper ventilation when you are making candles. This has been a struggle for me for a long time when it comes to making candles, and I think that it kind of put me off in the very beginning, and that's why I took such a long break before I actually started focusing on creating my candles that I was going to sell. So I took about a year break in between actually making my first candles because it gave me such a headache and a stomach ache whenever I would make them. Now I don't seem to have that problem anymore. I don't know if my body is just getting used to it or not, but I do still struggle with feeling a little just suffocated in my chest with the overwhelming feelings of all the fragrance oil. I'm not in a very big apartment. This space that I make candles in is not very big, and we only have a window in the kitchen and then the sliding glass door right there, so I don't have any cross breezes or anything. So I have 2 fans going. I have both windows going. Sometimes I'll even turn on the fan, not my air conditioner, but I'll just run the fan throughout the house. And I'm also looking into getting an air purifier as well as a respirator mask. So just to let you guys know, just make sure that you're taking care of your health as well. I understand that people will say, well, if it's so bad for your health, why are you even selling those candles? There's a difference between having all of this, just this concentration of fragrance oil going at once. Sometimes there's, 25, 30 candles that are being poured, so much fragrance oil in the air. That's much different than burning one candle in a part of your house. So it's definitely something to look into, and something that I don't think that we talk enough about. It just kind of is what it is, and I feel like it's very important to not ignore it and to make sure that we are definitely taking care of our health first. Advice number 5 is make sure you guys are keeping track of everything. This is something that I didn't do and something that I never got the habit down, so I still feel like I'm really bad at this. It's so bad, you guys. But I really, really, really recommend that you guys get some sort of notebook or tracking sheet or something when it comes to documenting when you are testing your candles. So the wax you're using, the fragrance oil you're using, the fragrance oil percentage, the wicks you're testing, how long you are doing each burn for, what it looks like, how it's performing, the pour temperatures, how high you're heating it to, what temperature you're pouring in the fragrance oil. All of this, if you are documenting this and you have that knowledge down, you won't make the mistake that I have where you are thinking to yourself, did I try out that wick? What did it do? How did it perform? And it ends up costing you a lot more money. So if you want kind of a way that is not going to waste as much product during the testing process, this is the best way to do it. You have to document everything so that you are understanding what you are looking at, so that when you go back in time and you are trying to see, hey, how did this wick perform with this jar? You know exactly how it's performing. So I really, really implore you guys to just get some sort of it doesn't even have to be like a candle making test tracking sheet or whatever. It can just be a notebook or whatever it is. Just make sure you guys are getting down the most information possible so that you can look back and know exactly what you've tested. It's going to save you so much. Advice number 6. Please don't get overwhelmed by the math and the science part of it all. I understand that if you're like me and you absolutely hated math and science growing up in school, which was me, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I'm much more of an English writer. I like that so much more. But if you are getting really overwhelmed by it, just take some time and really focus on trying to understand all of it, and just take it slow. Don't get mad at yourself if you're not understanding. Just understand that if this is something that you do want to do, you want to make a business out of, you like making candles, it can almost help in a way because it's a different kind of math and science. It's not something that you're just learning in school just to learn. With this, you're actually learning for something that you really want to do, something that is going to help you and something that is going to be very beneficial to understand. So I really, really advise you guys, if you are like me and you never liked math and science, now, I mean, with candle math and science, I actually really like it, which is really weird. One of my favorite things is doing the candle math calculations, and I have a whole video on that if you guys are confused on that, so I will link it above. But it's one of my favorite things now, which is so dumb, but I really enjoy it. And I think it's because I understand it, and it makes you feel really good when you're understanding what you're doing and what you're creating. So I really advise you guys to just take some time. I spent about 3 hours at the start of all of this before I ever started making videos on it. I really just sat down and I learned and I taught myself and I tried to figure it out. And everything that I learned in that 3 hours, you can learn in my video. So hopefully that will help you guys out a little bit faster than it took me to learn. But just take some time, be very patient with yourself and understanding it, but don't let that stop you from making candles. Just try to learn and take your time and try to enjoy learning something that is going to really, really be beneficial to you. My 7th piece of advice is don't get discouraged if you guys don't make sales right away. I do get a lot of people messaging me saying, you know, how long did it take you to make sales? I've been up for a week or 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever it is, and you haven't made any sales. I understand it can be very frustrating because you spend all this time preparing, testing, learning, spending all of this money to start your business. But you guys also have to understand that we are in a huge market of candles. There are a lot of candle businesses and startup candle businesses and people trying to sell candles. And you do have to focus on marketing. So if you aren't telling people, nobody is going to know about it. So you do have to focus on marketing and making sure that you are really focusing on what you need to do to get your candles out there and get your candles known. And I do have a video that I made Very recently, I think it was maybe last week or so, I made a video on how to get your branding out there and how to do some marketing for your candles. So that is a very, very hard part of the business process. It's not even candle making, it's more of just now straight business. So you kind of have to get out of the, okay, so I've spent all this time, trying to be creative and learning how to make candles, and now it's just straight business. How can I actually sell these? So it does take a lot of time sometimes, and it does take some patience. So just know that it is possible. People are starting up candle businesses all the time, and they are, selling out of their candles and getting their candles out there. So know that it is possible, but it's different for everybody. Everybody has different journeys. Everybody has different things that happen to them. Some people, they start up their business and they don't get their first sale for 5 months. Other people, it took a couple days for them to get a first sale. So it really just depends on what you're doing on the back end, on any kind of social media promotion or marketing or whatever you're doing on the back end. Just please don't get discouraged if you aren't making sales right away. It's not easy. It is far from easy, but it is really rewarding. And once you get it down on what you need to be doing, it becomes a little bit more, not easy, but it becomes a little bit more, you understand how the process works. So you understand more of what you need to be doing in order to make the sales and how you can drive traffic to your candles. My 8th piece of advice is please make sure that your business name is not already taken. This can be extremely, extremely discouraging and kind of disappointing when you think of a business name, you think of a candle company name, and you start designing the logo. Maybe you pay somebody to design a logo. You start printing out labels and you're like, okay, well, I need to create an Instagram, and it's already taken. You search on Google, it already has a domain, and it's really disappointing. So make sure that you take the time in the very beginning to research and make sure that your business name is not already taken. And I do have a lot of people asking me, how can you make sure that your business name is not already taken? This is something that personally, I don't know all of the legal sides on, so I don't know there might be a very legal way to make sure. But for me, I just look, is Facebook page taken, Instagram handle, domain, email. I check all of that. And if all of that is not taken, then I feel like there's a pretty good chance that that business name is not taken. I don't know that for certain, but it's just kind of the way that I go about it, because I look and see if all of these things are available, then it could mean that the business name is available. So make sure that once you have your business name down, even before you start selling anything, you can purchase a domain from somewhere like GoDaddy.com. That's where I purchased mine. I purchased mine a couple months into, it was a couple months into me selling, so I kind of waited a little bit longer. And that's why I'm giving you guys this advice now, because I didn't do all of these things. So I started my business at the end of March. It was the last day. It was March 31st of 2020. And I didn't purchase my domain until I believe the end of April or the beginning of May. So there is a possibility that somebody could have purchased that domain and I could have not used it. So make sure that you go in, you purchase your domain, you set up your Instagram, you set up your email, and just secure all of those, just so you know that when it is time for you to sell, that you have all of that set. Advice number 9, this is huge because of what we have experienced this year. Try to have different suppliers for your supplies. Try not to have one supplier for everything. Something that I've experienced this year, of having only one supplier for pretty much all of my items and having everything be out of stock. It can give you a very uneasy feeling. It can kind of make you panic a little bit because you don't have the supplies you typically do. So just try to find other suppliers, or have jars from this supplier and this supplier, and they might not be the exact same jars. You might have different styles. And also try to find different waxes. Don't just settle on one wax. Try to have an alternative. So that's what I've been trying to kind of shift my focus on, because I was so comfortable with just having one supplier. And now I've really had to open myself up to different ideas of different suppliers and different things I can do. So always adjust. There's always a different way. There's always something else that you could do. But try not to get stuck on one supplier, because we've learned this year that that doesn't work. And the last piece of advice that I'm going to talk about in this video, because I do get this question all the time, is should you test your candles the same way that they are going to be when you sell them, or can you test them in other jars or cheaper jars or using other, cheaper waxes? And absolutely not. You have to be testing with the jars, the wick, the wax, the fragrance oil, and the fragrance oil percentage on exactly how that candle is going to be when you're going to sell it. So I know it can seem like you're wasting product, but you're really not. You are not wasting product when you are testing. You are learning and you are focusing on how can I make this candle safe? What is going to be the best performing candle that I can create and sell? And that is your main focus. So whatever jar you want to sell in, make sure you are purchasing those jars. Make sure you are purchasing the wicks, the wax. Don't cut corners on anything. Don't not put in fragrance oil because you don't want to waste fragrance oil. You're not wasting it. You are making a scientific experiment. And if you change any of the variables in it and then you add it later on, it could perform completely differently. So make sure you are testing the exact same way that you would be selling your candles with. And I think that's that for today's video. I really hope this helped you guys out for those of you that are interested in starting your own candle business. This is just kind of my piece of advice for somebody that has been making candles for about a little over a year now, and then I started selling back in March. So I'm really not that experienced with it, but I have learned so much more on what I wish I would have done in the beginning. So I really hope this helped you guys out. If it did, go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at MemoryBoxCandleCo. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.